Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, I want to talk to you about keyword bidding strategies for dealers who are using Google Ads, formerly known as Google AdWords. Over the last few months, I've been digging deeper into the budgets and the strategies that dealers are using for Google Ads in the United States. And I found some, top-level observations that I'd like to share with you to challenge your thinking about which keywords you should be buying at Tier 3. Now, depending on your OEM, they may have strict guidelines on which keywords you can and cannot buy. Other OEMs, it's more like a free-for-all. Everyone can bid on whatever they want. But let me talk to you about a few specific keyword strategies that I want to challenge now in 2019. The first keyword bidding strategy is buying the dealer's own name. And let me say that today, when you type in the exact name of a dealership, like Maury's Mazda or Palm Beach Toyota, the dealer's website is always in the #1 organic position. And if you're on a desktop or mobile device, the dealer's Google My Business page shows. It is my belief in 2019 that when somebody types in Maury's Mazda, they have clear intent to visit the website. Why they're going to visit the website obviously is unknown when someone types in the dealer's name until they take some action on the website. Maybe it's for service, maybe it's for sales. But in 2019, when a consumer types in the dealer's name, their website is #1 in organic and Google My Business appears, and Google will get them to the home page of the dealership website for free without the need of AdWords. Now, there's been a lot of fear-based marketing that has propelled dealers to spend crazy amounts of money on buying their own name. You see, dealers think that buying their own name is cheap, and it used to be that way. So it was very hard for dealers to spend more than a few $100s a month buying their own name. But in 2019, I'm running across dealers who are spending $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, even $10,000 a month to buy their own name. And yet, when I show them that when someone types in their own name, Google has enough free tools to get them to the homepage of the dealer's website, they still balk. They're like, well, what if somebody else is buying my name? I'm just going to say in 2019, we could use examples from our personal life that will help add some clarity. You see, I like shopping at Macy's, not so much a Target or a JCPenney's shopper. So when I type in the word Macy's in the Google search engine, there may be an ad from Target, there may be an ad from JCPenney who is conquesting that keyword. But when I type in Macy's, I have clear intent to go to Macy's. I know JCPenney exists. I know Target exists. And if I wanted to price shop, believe me, I would go to those websites as well. The same way is that if there's a Toyota dealer in town, and 10 miles away is another Toyota dealer, and a consumer is thinking about buying a Toyota, if you don't think that they're shopping both websites, then you're naive. Of course, they're going to do their best to educate themselves through third-party classifieds, websites like TrueCar, or just going to different dealers' websites to educate themselves to make sure that they get a good deal. You see, buying your own name is paying for the Google fear tax that somebody may not be able to find your website. In 2000, Google AdWords was first introduced. It was a time in the early 2000s that if you typed in a dealer's name, it was not guaranteed that the dealer's homepage would be #1 in organic results. Some dealers were on page 2. There was no Google My Business, so it was not easy to find the dealer's website 19 years ago. Today, it's completely different. Every manufacturer is given Google a list of their authorized URLs. Google also knows that search authority for the main domain. And of course, Google My Business is linked to any brand-specific searches. So today, I'd rather see the dealer take that $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 and invest it in attracting net new shoppers, not people who are already had clear intent to come to the dealer's website. Now, let me just make one disclaimer. If you are buying your own name and you look at your monthly AdWords spend and it's under $500 a month, you can do whatever you want. Dealers waste $500 just on a bad car deal. They can make a slight accounting error. $500 can just evaporate. So if a dealer wants to spend $500 or less for fear, I hope they own Google stock and go ahead and do it. But what I'm talking about is the dealers who are paying $3, $4, $5 a click for their own name, and that's just stupid tax. So I want you to look at your Google AdWords strategy and ask yourself how much of my budget is being used to buy my own name. The second keyword strategy I want to challenge is buying very broad keywords. I just recently looked at a dealer who, over a 60-day time period, was spending over $6,000 on the single keyword Nissan. No one, I believe, at the dealership knows that they're spending that much on a very, very broad keyword. Just the word Nissan doesn't mean that a consumer has intent to really buy a car locally at Tier 3. I'd rather see the OEM buy the term Nissan. And in fact, when we looked at the cost per conversion and cost per sales opportunity for buying the word Nissan, it was just astronomical. A dealer would be spending over $1,000 a retail unit. In some cases, you could even estimate over $2,000 a retail unit for buying the word Nissan to get a net new shopper to come and buy a car from their website. And Nissan margins are slim as they are. Nissan dealers can't afford to throw a few $1,000s just in AdWords money to sell a Nissan. So I want you to be very careful about keywords that are very, very high funnel. If you want to increase high-level brand awareness, I would say video is a good strategy, a video everywhere strategy. You see, when you buy the word Nissan or Toyota or Ford, a lot of competition, jump ball, you may be competing against Tier 1 and Tier 2 advertising. But on platforms like Facebook, YouTube pre-roll, little mini short intros to videos that can help create a local brand awareness, maybe more cost-effective. Set-top box data from cable companies can tell you which homes have a particular vehicle brand like Nissan in their garage. You can, based on that data, come up with a custom media plan and get your message out to people. If you want high funnel, high impact messaging, I'd rather do it locally with my brand. That's $6,000 a month to buy the word Nissan. I would have 100 better uses for that strategy. The third keyword bidding strategy I want to challenge you about is year, make, and model searches. The Google Playbook says that if somebody types in 2019 Ford Explorer, that you should take them to a page that lists the 2019 Ford Explorers in stock. No one has challenged that assumption. I'm going to tell you today that dealers' own data, not my opinion, scream that buying year, make, and model and throwing people to an SRP is a wasteful investment. My national average, looking at hundreds of Google Analytics accounts, shows that when you buy year, make, and model and are not doing any smart bidding technology, if you are not looking at search intent, if you're not using AI to look at multiple consumer interactions to understand what part of the sales funnel they're in, that 70% of the people that hit that SRP never go to another page. Let me say that again. When dealers buy year, make, model searches and send them to a list of vehicles that they have in stock, well, I call it speed dating, because you think they're ready to buy a car. The data tells me that if 3/4 of the consumers who click on that ad and hit an SRP never shop another page on the dealer's website, something is wrong. Now, in this podcast, I'm not going to give specific AdWords strategies because, well, not everyone would understand the tactical setup, but more importantly, dealers need to look at their own data. If they just listen to this podcast, if you just listen to this podcast and just form an opinion without looking at your own data, well, then nothing's really going to change and dealers are going to continue to waste money on digital ad spend. You see, the homepage today for every dealer in the United States is the highest converting landing page that a consumer can start with. You see, in 2019, the homepage becomes the ultimate starting point for a consumer. Dealers are guessing intent based on a single keyword search, sending them to a page and never looking at engagement. They wonder why their leads are down. Well, that's because you are guessing wrong 3/4 of the time. Isn't it funny that the average abandon rate on the homepage as a landing page from Google AdWords is under 25%? The average abandon rate when someone does year, make, and model, sends them to a SRP is 70%. Something is wrong. And without the investigation, dealers are continually spending more and more and getting less and less because of poor keyword bidding strategies. So let's summarize today's podcast. Number one, stop buying your own name. Clear intent will get consumers to your homepage for free, and it's the best converting page anyway. So there's no downside of letting them start at the homepage. Number two, be careful about broad keywords. Yes, there's modifiers, there's negative keywords, there's strict geo-targeting, but really take a look at the cost per sales opportunity. Take a look at the net new shoppers that you're getting from these broad keywords. And for the most case, you will realize that money could be better spent on keywords that are more localized, that show more clear intent, or you'll just take that money and use a smarter AI bidding strategy like the new LotLinks SEM AI, which understands true intent based on multiple shopper activities, not a single keyword search. And lastly, be very careful about where you're sending people. Take a look at your year, make, model searches. Do a split test. Send half the traffic to the homepage. Send the other half to an SRP. See which landing page choice gives you the most engagement, the most conversions. And when I say conversions, I'm talking about phone calls, chats, and texts, lead form submissions, trade-in submissions, finance applications. It's amazing that in 2019, there's so much blind spending without any accountability. Today's podcast is just one step forward in helping dealers understand what to look at and where to identify waste. When you deploy these thousands of dollars of wasted funds to strategies that have been ignored or neglected or underfunded, dealers will sell more cars for sure. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Share it with your friends, and I look forward to spending time with you in the future on another podcast session.